Hi, good morning. I'm Simon Rohrer from Saxo Bank in Denmark, in Copenhagen. Here I am head of enterprise architecture, as well as co-lead on the Ways of Working program. And I'm going to talk to you this morning about both those things, about modern approaches to enterprise architecture informed by modern ways of working, being agile, etc. So where have I come from? I started my career 26 years ago, that many years ago, as a developer. I learned Java super early. I was using that version 0.8 alpha. Early on in my career, I picked up the Extreme Programming White Book back in 1999. I became an agile, passionate zealot, tester in development, refactoring, and all of those good things. I was working for a consultancy as well. I worked as an enterprise architect. I was doing a lot of PowerPoint, a lot of Word documents, strategy documents. I learned TOGAF, the Open Group Architecture Framework. I learned about the Zachman framework as well. And I was sort of passionate about those for a while. My career swung like a pendulum between developer, more and more senior developer, more and more senior enterprise architect, and eventually I ended up as chief architect for the wealth management division of Barclays. And then I met John Smart at Barclays, and he was starting up what originally was an agile transformation program, and I joined him, and then we decided it wasn't really transformation, it was more agile adoption. We didn't want to transform people, we wanted people to pull agile and for them to adopt it with our help. And then we decided, well, actually, it wasn't just agile, it was ways of working. Lean systems thinking, theory of constraints, other things as well, and DevOps, of course. And then late 2018, I decided to leave the UK, so I had to leave Barclays, and I moved here to Denmark, to Saxo Bank, and well, actually I combined my previous two things, head of enterprise architecture and co-lead on the Ways of Working program. I read an interesting tweet last year, just after I got made head of enterprise architecture. Grady Booch, venerable software engineering maven, he said, what is enterprise architecture? It's kind of like astrology for big enterprises or homeopathy for bureaucratic organizations. And maybe that should have made me feel uncomfortable, but I actually sort of got what he was talking about. I'd read Mark Schwartz's book, A Seat at the Table, as well, and he talks a lot about enterprise architecture. We'll quote him a fair bit. He says EA folk are perceived as office-dwelling trolls and manufacture constraints. They're perceived that they are combining people who are trying to be productive, and they're perceived as a conservative wing that tries to keep everyone in line with old values. There's also a super interesting Forbes article from 2014 that says, is enterprise architecture completely broken? Well, it's part of my career, so I don't really want to be an astrologer. I don't really want to be a homeopath. What are the alternatives to doing those things and fix what is perceived as a sort of broken practice? What are the alternative practices to astrology and homeopathy? Law is one of them, but not law in a way that enterprise architects sort of used to be. Architecture governance, one of the practices of architecture governance in a waterfall or sort of pseudo-waterfall, agile, water scrumfall, even these sort of hybrid waterfall agile, which aren't really agile at all. These practices, they sort of align software development with project management practices. So where you've got the project management phases of initiate, plan, execute, and close, they align the software development, the waterfall software development practices of analyze, you do a lot of analysis, then you do a lot of design, and then you do a fair bit of build and test, or that tends to get squeezed, and then you release once. And architecture governance has typically tried to find itself there between analyze and design, and most commonly, I've seen it, I saw it back at Barclays, certainly, and I know other people have practiced this as well. Try to say at the end of a design phase, well, let's do a design review, let's get a bunch of enterprise architects in a room where the project team can present, and we'll sign off the design, or we won't. We'll tell them they need to make changes to it. And that sort of works in a waterfall world. What happens when we move to a more agile world? Well, yeah, sure, we initiate maybe projects, maybe initiatives, maybe business outcomes. But we plan continuously, we adapt our plans, and we execute in line with that continuous planning. Maybe we close it if we're in a project mode, if we're in product mode, that stuff goes on for a long time. And then, yeah, we're going to do some analysis, but again, it's a continuous process, test-driven design, test and design and build, and do that all day, every day. Release and release and release many, many times continuously, hopefully. So where do we do our design review? There's no design phase. We've not really got anything to review here. We don't really have anything to, we've got a bit to review here, but we've released some software already. So look, we're asking the wrong question. This shouldn't be about a single design sign-off. If the design evolves, well, how do we work with that? There's a vision that the teams are going to have, the delivery teams, and then really we need to start having a conversation rather than acting as if we